Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. So let's start with today's session. Let's do a quick recap on what we did yesterday. So basically yesterday there were multiple things what we did, guys. We spoke about what is continuous integration. We spoke about how do we create a ASP.NET project, and then we created a ASP.NET project, created a repository, and created a first build pipeline. So let's go and look into the build pipeline again, and very importantly, make sure to fill in the parallelism form because that takes around 2 to 3 working days. So make sure to do that. Okay. So if you have noticed, automatically your dashboard, your summary page is popping up with all the details. You can see your board's detail over here, the number of commits, the number of pull requests, everything is popping up over here. Okay, forget about that. So this was the build pipeline what we have created. Let's go and edit the pipeline again. Okay, so we were talking about agent pool. How agent pool will help you run all this task, execute all this task. Okay, so this is, we have understood why exactly we are using this format for fetching the solution file. So this is the right format, guys. I'll suggest to use the same one. Artifact name, this is nothing but it's a folder. So all this is happening on an agent pool, which is Microsoft provided agent pool, and frankly you don't have access to that agent pool. You cannot log into that server, you cannot access any files and such. Then how do you access your artifacts? So there is a way out. You can create a folder wherein all your artifacts eventually will be copied. Okay, so this is the location where things will get copied. So drop is nothing but just a folder name where you will find your artifact eventually getting copied over here. Okay, so if you want to change the name to something else, it's totally up to you. So there is no hard and fast rule that you need to stick with the same name. Okay, so you can change this name to whatever you want. So that was all about your build pipeline, and this is the source what we have selected, the develop branch and the repository name. Okay, and this is inheriting the same thing. So whatever we have mentioned over here, Windows 2019, this is over here inheriting the same from pipelines. Basically it's using the same specification. Okay, now there are multiple tasks which is getting executed. In this we don't have a test case as we have not written any test case, so this is not needed, and we don't need to publish any symbols, so even this is not needed. So these are the tasks which is required. The first is, as I said, if you want to build a .NET application, you will need NuGet. Okay, so NuGet is nothing but it's a third party wherein all the third party packages, plugins are there which you can eventually use for your application development. Okay, as of now I have not used any plugin. If you go and see into my Visual Studio, there's no plugin we have used, nothing, no plugin. But if you want to go and download any plugins which is relevant to your application, you can go to tools, you can look into the NuGet package manager, and you can basically go and install NuGet packages from here. This is something we'll do it in later. How do we download packages, how do we create our own artifact, secure it and things like that. That is something we'll understand when we talk about Azure artifacts. Okay, for now this is, we haven't had any dependencies, so there's nothing in my application, but still you need to have NuGet installer. So basically this is the latest version of NuGet which will get installed on your agent pool, the agent pool which you're using to run it. Then it will do a NuGet restore. So basically it will go ahead, use the solution file, and it will restore. Restore is nothing but, guys, this step, compiling source code. So your NuGet restore, what it will do, it will download all the, if there is any dependency, firstly it will download and fetch all those files from nuget.org, and it will compile your source code at that point of time. Okay, so NuGet restore, basically if there's any packages, in case if there's a packages, then it will go and download those packages for you. Then in this build solution, this is the place where your actually artifact is getting created. If you go and look into this ms build argument, this is all pre-built guys. I have not written anything as such. This is all pre-built. If you go and look into the build, what exactly build is happening: deploy on build, true, web publish method package. So eventually a package will be created. If you don't have this line, this parameter, then the package will not be created. Package as a single file, true. Skip invalid configuration, true. Package location. So package location, this is something we'll understand in a bit what exactly this location is, but for now this is what the parameters are. Based on this parameter, ms build parameter, your application will be built. Okay, first task installing NuGet, second task restoring packages. So if your solution is using any package, your application is using any third-party package, anything as such, it will go and fetch that package for you. Then your build will start and eventually a package will be created. So package is nothing but a zip file will be created at the end. So that zip file will have your complete application, which will eventually you can go and deploy wherever you want. So this zip can be deployed on Azure Web App. It can be deployed on Azure VM. You cannot deploy it on AKS. You cannot deploy it in as a container and things like that. So this will be only deployed on a vanilla VM, or it could be deployed on Azure Web App. If you're deploying things on vanilla VM, you need to set up the VM by yourself. You need to install .NET, you need to install a web server on top of it, and many things you need to take care by yourself. All the setup you need to take care by yourself. Wherein if you're using Azure Web App, that's Azure services, all these will be pre-installed. You just have to get your package and install on top of it. So this is the difference between Azure Web App and Azure VMs. Keep this in mind. Okay, VMs you need to manage, maintain, set up all by yourself. Web app, and you will have more control on the VM guys. You can dig into and you will have more control on VMs. Wherein on web app, this is a service-based platform which is provided by Azure, wherein you will have the complete infra ready with all the web servers, all the requirement, all the plugins and everything will have. So you don't need to set up anything. You just have to get your package artifact, deploy on top of it, and here we go. Your application will be up and running. Okay, so two ways how do we deploy a package file. The other way of deploying is a microservice deployment, wherein you will deploy things on AKS and all. So that's a different route. We'll not discuss that now. That is something we'll discuss later. But for now, this is the setup which we need to focus on. Okay. Now the publish artifact. Publish is basically from this path, the publishing the files to this location. Why exactly we are publishing the files to this location? Because eventually my release pipeline will be able to access this location. What this location is all about, and this is something we'll talk about later. But for now, this what exactly this location is, because if you see the next task, the publish task, it is copying the files from this location and putting the files over here. And this is what we need to go and look into. These are all predefined parameters which we are calling inside a pipeline. Not this one. Predefined variables. So these are Microsoft predefined variables. If you go and look into this, what exactly it says? The local path on the agent where any artifacts are copied to before being pushed to the destination. So this was a local path on the agent pool which we are running the task on, all these tasks where we are executing. So this is basically the local path on the agent where the files are, the artifacts are getting copied right now. So it's a staging area. So your package, the zip file which is getting created over here, the package file which is getting created over here, this file is getting stored at this location. And this is how you want to call, if you want to call any variables, this is how you call dollar open bracket close bracket and in between the variable name. So these are predefined variables. So predefined variable means these are Microsoft defined variables. So these variables has some purpose. So these are already defined by Microsoft. So what is the purpose of this variable? The purpose of this variable is, this is a local path on the agent where the files are, artifacts are copied. And now with the task publish artifact, we are publishing everything whatever is there inside this path, we are putting everything inside this drop location so that we can eventually access it. Okay, now there are so many other variables which we will be eventually using. This is one of them. The others are, you can see all the variables over here. Build binaries, build number, build ID, build definition version. These are all predefined variable. Keep this link handy because we will be using this a lot while we set up the pipelines later. We'll be using this a lot, so keep this handy. Okay, so that was about. Now artifact publish location, there are two ways you can store it, either using Azure pipelines. Azure pipelines is nothing but this will get placed into the drop location, or if you have a file share. If you have a file share, then this will be stored into your file share. Remember the NFS Azure storage file share example, wherein we have mounted the file share on one of the VM. So if you have any such locations to keep, you can keep it in your file share also. Okay, for now I don't have any file share server, so I'll stick with Azure pipelines. So basically this will be accessible with your build. I'll show you how the files will be accessible. So it's a very simple, straightforward build pipeline we have created for building a .NET application. Only 4 tasks. First, installing NuGet. Second, restoring NuGet. Third, building solution. Fourth, publishing artifact. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so very straightforward, very simple. Now let's go and see if we are able to build this application or not. The reason is because I have yesterday itself only I have filled the parallelism form, so I doubt I will have access to the free minutes of agent. But let's see, let's go and run it and let's see if it is working at the first place. Okay, let me save this and let's queue it. So it will use the agent specification 2019 and it will run it. Let's see the logs. Oh, failed. You see the error, guys? No hosted parallelism has been purchased or granted. To request free parallelism, fill in the form. We have already done the form. I'm just waiting for my Microsoft approval for using this. Okay, so it has failed. I got an email as well stating the things has failed. Now what do we do? What do we do in such cases? Firstly, I'll have this pipeline imported. I'll export as JSON. Okay, I exported as JSON. I'll go to my different account. Or we do already have the files, correct? I'll have to sign in back. Sign out. Use this account. It's not signing you. Okay, let's log into this account. Let's create a new project in this account. This is my existing account, so I'll use this while we are still getting the approval. I'll use Agile. Perfect. So everyone understood, guys, why exactly I'm doing this, correct? Why I'm using this account. Let me do initialization. Let me create a new branch quickly. Let me set this develop as my default branch. Now let's clone this. Let's clone it. Git clone. Okay, perfect. Now I'll just copy this all. The only thing I'll not copy will be the .git file, because if I copy the .git file along with my application, the complete history and everything of the previous Git repository will also get copied. Okay, which I don't want. So I just want my application files. So I just copy it, put it over here. Okay. So my application got. I'll just close this Visual Studio because the location has changed. Okay, I got the application now. This is my application. And once we get the other account working, I'll start using this again. But for now, we'll stick with this. Okay, so if I open this, this will get open eventually in my new repository, which we have created for this application. So this is how you guys can use it, because this is the file, the project file I'll be sharing in the drive. If you want to use it under your repository, then it's the same thing you have to do. Just make sure don't copy the .git file. If you copy the .git file, you'll get my credentials, you'll get my URL, the remote URL, and my logs, my history, and everything. You'll get it. Okay, while it's taking time, let's use git console and do the things. Okay, let's do a quick add. Okay, let's do a quick commit. Okay, done. Let's do a git push. Done. While Visual Studio is coming up, I have done the push also. Go back, refresh it. Okay, we got everything in place. Our application is there inside this project. Now we have created a pipeline also, correct? Now I don't have to spend time doing things again. I can basically go and import pipeline over here. Import pipeline. I can select the JSON file where it was in my downloads, I believe. Okay. Done. As it is, the pipeline is as it is. We got everything in place. Okay. Agent pool, I will select Azure Pipelines, Windows 2019, and everything else is looking good. Things are looking good. Let me just check once. Perfect. Okay, so this is how I easily migrated my pipeline, my repository from an existing project from altogether a different organization to this organization and to a different project. Okay, how quickly we did it. We don't have to rework anything. We just imported and exported and imported again. Just simply save it and queue it. That's it. Done. And now we are executing the pipelines in this project. So the previous organization was Mela DevOps and this is devopsmela. That is a new ID which I have created, and this is the existing ID, so I have no issues with and I'll not get the error, the posted parallelism error and everything over here. Okay guys, any doubt what exactly I did? See, the execution has started. We got the execution running. Okay, anyone, any questions, any doubt what exactly I did, why I did?
I have a question, but that was probably about what we did yesterday. So I was trying to create a project for the ASP.NET Core. So on the Visual Studio, I was unable to get that. Is there any extension or plugin I need to install?
Okay, I'll show you again. Give me 1 minute. Just open the Visual Studio installer. If you go into modify, the only two plugins which I need is ASP.NET Web Development. Now if you look into this, build web application using ASP.NET Core, this is what we need. And the second one is Azure Development. This is I'll be using in future. For now, this is what I need. Just check this box and install. Then you should get this plugin. Okay.
I did that when I was doing the installation. I chose those two boxes.
Okay. So still you don't see ASP.NET Core option in your search?
Yes, I didn't see.
So when you create a new project, basically, this is the screen, and at the top you just look for ASP.NET Core. You should see if that plugins are installed in the right manner. You should see the ASP.NET Core plugin at the top. See this. This is what you should see. Or if you want to go and play around with the project type and all, you can even get this from here. But yeah, this is the first option which you should see. ASP.NET Core Web App. Just see if the plugins are installed or not. If not, try and uninstall and reinstall. Because of that plugin, only you're getting this option. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
If not, then I'll take control of your system and we'll see what's wrong. Just try it by yourself. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So my build is successful, guys. These are the logs. So now let's understand the logs first, because eventually when the build starts failing, at that time debugging becomes a key role. Now at the very first phase, this is where your agent pool is getting assigned. Okay, Windows 2019. Now this is the agent pool which has assigned to yourself. Initialization of job. Now initialization of job is basically, it is connecting to the agent, running as an administrator. All these steps are happening over here. Now checkout. Now if you go and look into the checkout, so you'll remember all your git commands. So this is git version, then it is adding a git remote. It's a origin what it is adding. There are few configuration which it is adding, which is required. Then it is cloning basically the entire repository of yours. If you see, this entire repository got cloned and there's a new reference got created. This is all happening automatically in your agent pool. So basically your existing repository is getting cloned onto the agent pool. So all these files, your repository files, are made available on agent pool. Now keep this in mind, because when I set up my own agent pool, at that time I'll show you what exactly happens in the backdrop. So these are the steps what exactly is happening. Okay, so why exactly I'm showing you through all this? This is because if anything fails in between, you should know how to read through the logs. Because if you know how to read through the logs, if you can identify where exactly things has failed, you can easily identify the error. Okay, because this can be a major role while working as a DevOps engineer. Second is, this is a place where it is installing NuGet 4.4.1 on the agent pool. Where exactly it is hosted? On the agent pool. See this, and the environment is also getting set up. Okay, then the restore is happening. If there's any package, the dependency packages which is there for this project, so what exactly it is doing, it is going on to the nuget.org and it is getting the feeds for you. Your project is installed. Install one package, csproj. So if there are any additional third-party packages, it will go and download those packages. It will check for compatibility, it will check for dependency, and it will go get you those packages from online. If you see this, get OK. So it's basically going to this link, getting the required files if required, restoring packages. And these are the steps which is mandatory. That is the whole purpose why we are getting NuGet restore command. Now this is the place where your actual build is happening. All your packages are getting compiled over here. If you see, all your packages are getting compiled, and at the end eventually there is a package getting created. Build succeeded, zero warning, zero error, and eventually if you find out, there is a zip file getting created somewhere over here. The package devops-webzip is successfully created as a single file, and the following location is, this is the location where the artifact is stored. What this location is? Where is my predefined variable? Build artifact staging directory. -A. -A stands for where your artifacts are stored. Keep this in mind, this initial. And if you go to the pipeline, do you see this? This comes very handy to understand what's happening on the agent pool. Considering we don't have access to the agent pool, and the lifespan of this agent pool which was getting executed is only limited to this build. If you run the build again, a new agent pool will be assigned. Keep that in mind, and you need to repeat the entire step again. So if you think that I can go and log in and access the files by myself manual, so no, that is not possible. With Microsoft hosted agent, it is not possible. With self-hosted, if you're hosting your own agent pool, you're on your own VM, then you can probably log in into the VM and access this particular path. Then you can go and access this particular path if you have your own hosted VM. Okay, in Microsoft hosted VM, no. I'll explain you the difference later. For now, just to know. Okay, now this package is kept somewhere over here in this artifact staging area. Now this is getting published from this area to your drop location. Remember, we have given the naming drop. So nothing but it's a folder name, it's a container name where your files are kept. How do you access this location? That's a different story. And this is your checkout process, wherein everything is getting, your credentials are getting cleaned. So you have your credential which is added on the agent pool, so that needs to be removed. So this is what it is happening over here. So reading through the logs is very important, and that should be your primary role to understand what's happening. Once you're done with this logs, you can come to your pipelines. This is your pipeline, and this is the first trigger which you have created. This is a manual trigger on your develop branch. This was the commit ID. Total time 2 minutes 33 seconds 9 minutes ago, and this is the stage successfully created. Now if you go to this, there are more information, very important information. the published. If you go into the publish, do you see this drop folder? So inside this drop folder you got your artifact. There are other files, XML and which you can ignore later if you want, but for now this is the important file, devops-webapps.zip. This is your application, guys. This is complete application package. Your complete application got packaged into a zip file now of 2 MB. Now if I want to deploy this application, I can go and deploy it easily wherever I want. It's just I cannot put it on containers and pods. Apart from it, if you want to deploy it on VM, Azure Web App, or any other things which you can think of, you can go ahead. You can even deploy this on AWS, your data center VMs, wherever you want. The only thing is you need to go and set up everything by yourself if you're doing it on a VM. Okay. Now this is all about your pipeline. I'll show you later how do we deploy it. For now we'll focus on build itself for today. And let's go and look into more. Okay, when you go inside it, you can at the left hand side, you can see who has triggered it. You can see the repository name, the branch and the commit ID. You can even see the date, timing, the timestamp. And if there's any test coverage and anything as such, that can be visible over here. So there's no test anything as such. We haven't added any JUnit test, nor any code coverage, nor we have any sonar queue, anything as such till now. So it will not show you anything. And if you click on this, it will take you to the log screen again. Okay. Any doubt till here? Anyone? Any questions? It's a very simple build which we have executed just now. And it's a classic based build. Any doubt? Anyone, guys? No doubt? Perfect. Okay, so let's go into the build pipeline again. Click on edit. Okay, there are a few other things which you want to notice. Let's go into the option of triggers. There are, when we say continuous integration, what do I mean by that? Continuous integration means once you have the pipeline set up, everything is there in place, and if the developer is making any changes after that, and if he pushes the changes to your remote repository, everything, your build pipeline and everything should start automatically. Remember the flow diagram? Developer is making changes, local commit, pushing the commit, then your build pipeline should get triggered automatically, and all your steps, your build and test steps should get running automatically. How exactly this will happen? This will happen with this box. Enable continuous integration. If you enable this, so there are number of filters which you can put in place, branch filters and path filters. So branch filter is basically you want to enable continuous integration at your develop branch. So what does that mean? There are two branches, correct? I got main branch and develop branch. If I'm making changes to the main branch, nothing should happen. This build pipeline which I'm creating, basically this is for my develop branch. That's the reason I've written here over here is develop. So that is what branch filter is all about. Okay. Include and exclude. There are two types, include and exclude, and you can select the branch on which you want to apply the filter. So that is the first option, branch filters. The other option is path filter. Now when do you use this path filter? Now as of now in my this use case I don't need this path filter, frankly. This path filter is basically used when you have multiple applications sharing the same repository. When do we use it? When there is a multiple applications sharing the same repository. Imagine this repository of yours, DevSecOps repository which I have created, it got 10 applications inside it. 10 applications. So that 10 application will have 10 build pipeline eventually. And if you just have a branch filter, And if you're making changes to your develop branch, what will happen eventually? All your 10 pipelines will start running at once, which we don't want. I don't want to execute all the 10 pipelines. What is my requirement? I just want to run this particular application, that is DevOps web apps. I don't want other pipelines to run unnecessarily. Okay, and it should basically you will not get 10 different repositories to create, because if you create 10 different repositories, you need to manage those 10 different repositories. So in companies you may end up getting one single repository wherein you will have 10 different applications. So in the microservice world, we'll have 10 different modules folders getting created, guys, and based on that modules you'll have pipelines created. So even this could be a setup in the real time. So how do we, whatever the setup is, forget about the setup, whatever the setup is, how do you handle such cases? Just imagine if you have this application, and just imagine these are application folders. This is one application, this is second application, third application, fourth application. All this application will eventually have a build pipeline integrated, and if you're making changes to the bin application, then only bin related pipeline should run. It should not happen that your pages related pipeline is also running. I'm just giving an example to you. Okay, so how do you filter this out? So this can be easily filtered out using path filter option. What you can do, you can simply, if you put this as include, what will happen? Two conditions over here now. First is branch filter. So the first condition is the changes should happen in your develop branch. Along with this other condition, the changes should happen in this folder, DevOps web apps folder. If you're making changes elsewhere, like suppose if I make changes to a readme.md file for an example, my build pipeline will not trigger. Just an example. How do we test it? Just save it. Now first what I'll do, I have two filters, branch and path filter. So I'll make, for testing what I'll do, I'll make changes to the readme.file. Basically I'm doing a checking to my develop branch only. Let's see if anything happens. So added new line. Okay, this is what I have added, a line. Doing a commit. So basically the commit is happening on my develop branch. Now I have my continuous integration trigger set. So if I'm making any commit, what should happen? The build pipeline should run. But along with the integration, I got two conditions. Branch filter, if there's a change in my develop branch, so that is what I'm doing. So the first condition is met. The second condition, whether the change is there inside the DevOps web app folder. So we are not meeting the second criteria. So eventually what should happen? Your build pipeline should not run. Let's go and verify if it is running or not. Then I made the changes. Go to pipeline section. Refresh it. No, it's not running. Correct? This is the last run which we have saw. I don't see any new run. This is all happening because of this guy, path filter. Now let's test this path filter. How do I test it? Go back to your Visual Studio. Now the first thing, guys, because there is an incremental change. Okay, there is an incremental change. I did a direct commit. If you guys have saw, this is the direct commit which I did. Now what should I do? Being a developer, I am doing a new development and there are incremental change. What should I do first to start with my development? Anyone? Do I start making changes and directly start pushing it, or what should I do first?
Want to create a feature bench.
I think you should be in the temporary branch.
Yeah, branch is okay. I can create a branch. For now, I'll make a change directly.
I mean,
develop branch.
You should be in your temporary branch.
Yeah, you should good pull.
Yes. This is what I was looking for. You got an old version of clone on your local right now. Why old? Because just imagine there are other developers who made changes already to your remote branches. So this is why I made the changes directly, just to demonstrate this. Just imagine there are other developers in your company with your project who have made changes directly. Now your version of copy is old. The first thing you should do is pull your changes. Go and pull your changes, and just ignore this JSON cache files. What you see, guys, these can be easily ignored when you go and add a git ignore file. Okay, so for now just ignore it. Now if you do see, I have pulled my changes and I see this commit got pulled. Now we are good. Now I can go and make changes. I can probably add testing CI. Okay, now I can do a build, save it, do a build. Once the build is done, so this is the local testing which we are doing with this build. So this is what a developer would be doing. I'm doing it directly from Visual Studio. If you're doing it from the command line, you will be using ms build command or vs build command in order to build your application locally. Once you have built, you can go and commit. Now what I'm doing, I'm making changes inside my folder, that is DevOps-web apps. And if I do a commit, what should happen? My pipeline should run automatically. Whether it is running or not, we will testing CI will see in a minute. We'll do a commit all and push. And suppose if you have not pulled your changes, this push will fail and you'll get a clear-cut error stating there is an incremental change. So you need to pull it, then push it. Do you see testing CI? And if you see, the pipeline has started. Web app develop build pipeline in queue. If you go over here, it will take you to this screen. So this is what path filter is doing for you. So this path filter comes very handy, guys, in reality. Why? Because as I said earlier, you will not have individual repository for individual application. You will end up getting multiple application inside same repository. Okay, if you have any such setup, then this path filter comes very handy. Okay, so this is about path filter and branch filter. I'll show you both the ways in YAML also. How do we set up path filter and branch filter in YAML based? For now, let's move on. Okay, let's go to edit again. Go to triggers again. Okay, now there are two more integration strategy: scheduled and build completion. Now schedule is more like a cron tab. Okay, the only difference is in schedule you cannot put monthly or any specific date schedule. The only things you can put is weekly and daily. So if you see this, you got an option of Monday to Sunday, and you can select on which days you want to run this build pipeline. So suppose you're selecting Monday, so this will be executed Monday at 2 UTC. UTC is 2 UTC is plus 5:30. If I add, then it is around 7:30 AM Indian Standard Time. If you want to select the time zone of yours, Eastern Time, you can select Eastern Time also, 2 AM EST. If I want to select India time, so I'll go plus 5:30. Plus 5:30, this is India, wherein it will be executed at 2 midnight. Monday 2 midnight, this will be executed. So this is early morning 2, which you say it midnight or early morning, is up to you. Okay, And now there's one more condition at below. Only schedule build if the source or pipeline has changed. What does this mean? If there is any change in your source code or any config change in your pipeline, then only schedule the build. If there's no change, there's no need of running the build. Okay, so you have such criterias also. You can even execute number of schedules. This is one schedule. If you want to have one more schedule, you can even have like Monday 2 and Tuesday, suppose you want to have it on 3, and select whichever time zone you want. Okay, and again you can even have branch filters over here if there is a change in the branch. Save this. There you got 2 schedules, so your pipeline will run at 2 and 3. Monday, Tuesday. Same way, if you want to do it for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can keep doing. Okay, so as I said, this is only number of days, and any particular day you cannot specify any date that I want to execute this pipeline on 30th of every month. No, such thing is not possible, wherein in cron tab you can do all this. Okay, makes sense? This is your scheduled. Now you got the other option, build completion. Now I don't have any pipeline, other pipeline to add this option. If you see, this is grayed out right now. The reason, in my project, this is only pipeline I have. Okay, and this build completion option will work when you have any other pipeline, and based on completion of that pipeline, if you want to execute this pipeline. Now just imagine there are chain of pipelines. Where exactly you will use this option? There are chain of pipeline and everyone is interrelated. So you suppose there's a build number 1, 2, 3, 4. So build 1, when the build 1 is successful, then build 2 should run automatically. When build 2 is successful, build 3 should run automatically. When build 3 is successful, build 4 should run automatically. So these are dependent. If you have any application wherein your build is dependent, then you can make use of this build completion option. So build when another build completes. So this build will run when the another build completes. Okay, let me go to a different project and show you that. So I'm into a different project. If I go to triggers, triggering build based on, just imagine my build is dependent on this Terraform build. Terraform build is basically, imagine it is creating an infrastructure for me. Once the infra is created, then only I want this build to get executed. So this is, if this is failed, this will not even run. If this fails, this will not even run. This is how we can have an additional setup done. Make sense? Anyone? Any questions?
Yeah, Rohit, one question.
Yeah,
Rohit, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, using these all options during you, we are doing repos or pipelines. So we are setting up all the options over here, right? So these options, shall we automate the using Terraform or ARM templates or Bicep?
This will be one-time setup if you're using Classic, but in YAML this will be all automated. Don't worry. So this is all I'm showing you, just a demonstration. But later you just have to write once, and all this option. If you have all the predefined that your trigger should run in such condition, in such schedule, you should have this path filter, you should have this branch filter, you should have this build completion. If you have everything beforehand, you can automate easily using YAML scripts. It will be all done.
So
Yeah.
So in real time, we are doing as a manual or we are automating the things?
No, even this is automated. The one which I'm showing you right now, this is one-time setup. You just do it once
Okay.
and done. Even in Classic,
Okay.
this is not, we are doing nothing manual. Now if you have seen my previous build, the previous build was automated. If you see this, go and check. Do you see this? This is what the previous was manually triggered, and this you see individual CI. That means this is an automated build. We haven't executed this build. This was automatically got executed when there was a change in my repository. So even this is because we did the setup already. Even this build was automated. Now you don't need to go and always go and make changes to the pipeline. The pipeline is set. This is only while you are setting up the pipeline for the very first time. Now your pipelines are set, your triggers are set, your timings are set, your schedule is set, everything is set. You just go and give this pipeline to the developers, ask them the pipeline is ready, the build is ready, go ahead and start pushing your changes. They will start doing the development. You're not bothered. The only time they will call you again if there's any failure happening. If anything, your pipeline is failing because of some pipeline issues. If their application build is failing, then nothing you can do. If your pipeline is failing, then they will come back to you asking, boss, your pipeline is failing, please have a look. So in such cases, you will go and debug. Yeah. But nowadays, I'll tell you, even if it is failing due to their application issues, the dependency issue, they will still call you and tell you that your pipeline is failing.
Yes. I know it.
Okay.
We have seen many things in our organization.
Yes. You have to be very specific. Go check the logs. Tell them, dude, this is your application issue. Your packages are failing. Please go and look into your application. Nothing to do with pipeline. So you have to, as I said earlier also, the border needs to be defined where to stop. Don't unnecessarily go and start debugging their application issues, because you'll not understand. You have not written it correct. Even though, just imagine you're a .NET developer, but if you have not written that piece of code, what that module is doing, what the module is calling, where it is fetching, you'll not even come to know. So why to waste unnecessary time? Just tell them, dude, this is your package issue, please go and look into it. As simple as that. Okay. Okay, so this was very simple build pipeline what we have created. And there are variables. I'll talk about these variables and pipeline variables in variable group later now, not now. I'll talk about this in greater details when we start with the releases. Options. If you want to have any particular build properties, this is how the format your build number is getting generated, guys. Date and the version number. So this is what it is defined over here. Hence, if you go and see this number 20230221.do, this is because this format. If you want to change the format to something else, it's totally up to you. Now create work item on failure. So if you want to have an auto work item created on failure, this is, you can come and enable. Image URL, markdown link. This markdown link is nothing but this, if you're creating your own dashboard, and if you want to have a status like this batch what you see, if you want to have status like this, you can make use of this link. Let me open a, so if you open this link, it should give you not the complete link, just this. So this will give you your build status. Invalid, so it's not working right now. Did we not run it, or did I copy something else? Okay, so this is basically, this will give you a batch kind of things. If you use this markdown link, it should give me, let's try Internet Explorer. Where is Edge? And same goes with this image URL. It will give you an image like structure. Let's try this. See this, succeeded. If you put this anywhere, and if your build pipeline fails, it will give you the status of fail also. Okay, so this you can use it. Now this is your build job, current project, build job timeout. So 60-minute timeout. If you change the timeout to something less, 60 minutes is way more. If you want to change it to something else, you can do it over here. Build job cancel timeout in 5 minutes. Okay. History, who has made changes, who had edited your pipeline, when was the pipeline updated, everything will be visible over here. You can even do a comparison with the previous change. Now this was a previous change, and this is something I have added. What all things I have added? I have added schedule. You see the schedule, Monday, Tuesday. It is clearly showing you that you have added the schedule. Who has added? This guy, devopsmela. When was it added? 9/19. Okay. So this is a bit of history. How do you check history in your build pipeline? Okay, so that's it for the build. Before we jump on to release, there are a couple of things which you need to understand, such as service connection. For understanding service connection, we need to understand Azure Active Directory. So we'll spend couple of days now before even doing the release. So this build will park it here. Here it is. We'll keep the build as it is. Now the other part is we need to go and learn about Azure Active Directory and service connection, service principle, and how the communication will happen between Azure DevOps and Azure Cloud. That is something we need to understand first before I go and deploy this package on Azure Web App. Okay, so we'll stop the CI/CD part in between now and we'll understand Azure Active Directory. Post that we'll do the continuous deployment. Okay guys, any questions, please do let me know. Tomorrow we'll start with Azure Active Directory because that is something you need to understand before jumping on anything. Any questions, please do let me know, or we can wind up the call for today. Anyone? Anything in the chat? Okay, there are so many questions.
Yeah, Rohit, there is a
What are MLOps pipeline? Machine learning pipelines, synapses pipeline. You're going into a different data engineering guy. And data engineering guys, they use data scientists, they use MLOps pipeline. These are basically ADF pipelines, basically used for your ETL process for extraction, transform, load. You're using data lake, and if you want to fetch something, if you want to share data from one database to other database, all this MLOps operations which you want to do, this will be all done using EDF pipelines. That is Azure Data Factory. And Bicep is okay. Bicep is a new language, okay, which we can use like JSON. You can even use for writing ARM template. ARM template can also be written in Bicep. Now Bicep is what Microsoft says that it's pretty easier as compared to ARM. That is what Microsoft says. But if you're viewing Bicep for the very first time, you'll not understand anything. If you're familiar with JSON, stick with JSON. Bicep, they tried making things more easier, because JSON, many people think it's a complicated language wherein you have so many curly braces and things like that. Wherein Bicep, it is straightforward. But I can show you both. But I feel JSON is more user friendly because we are using JSON for very long time now, and Bicep is something very new. It's not yet matured. Okay, so it's a new language, you can say. And what is this, Kishore? This Jamboard google.com?
no, just by mistake it was happened, Rohit.
That's okay, no problem. Anything else guys apart from this? Guy, hopefully that answers your question. Okay, this is more of a data engineer job, guy. Okay, data engineer.
Thank you.
DevOps, MLOps, that is. So synapses and all, this is for data scientists, what you create pipelines for big data solution. So those are those roles. Okay.
Thank you. That helps. Thank you much.
Rohit, quick question.
Yeah.
About there is some ETL kind of services in Azure, right?
There are many services. Yes.
Data lake kind of services. That one also, as a DevOps engineer, it's our responsibility to automate.
Very good question. Now this is where you need to. Okay, being a DevOps, you can go to both the portfolio. Okay, if you're good with databases, okay, understand this. If you're good with databases, you know the SQL query much more. You can work with databases okay, if you have any experience with databases, then you can go and go with this domain, this MLOps domain. MLOps is basically, it's a big data domain wherein you will be working with Hadoop. Okay, you will be setting up pipelines. Now these pipelines are different. These are ADF pipelines. ADF is nothing but it's a data factory pipelines. So what these pipelines are basically used for, like just imagine you want to copy one table from one database to other database. Okay, so you will, how do you automate this process? With ADF pipeline. That is very simple example I'm giving. Second example, suppose there's a data lake. Data lake is what? It's a storage account wherein there is the data is getting dumped. Now from there you want to copy data for processing to somewhere. Then again you will have a ADF pipeline created over there. So these are all a different domain altogether. Okay. Now, being a DevOps engineer, now the expectation is that the people should know ADF side also. But you have to choose wisely. If you are good with databases, let me be very clear. If you're good with databases and SQL, then definitely you can go and jump on this domain. Now when you jump on this domain, your other side is gone. This part wherein you're talking about application CI/CD and things like that. And if you know both, that's a well and good. But knowing both, you will not have expertise in any of it. Select your path wisely, in which, because once you select the path, if you are in the front end, back end automation, then you will have to develop your skill set in that. And when you go to the ADF side of it, then you have to develop your skill set in it. So select wisely which one you want to go with. Both are good. This ADF and all are coming. It's because the data, there are data scientist role which is coming up a lot. So even they need this automation part. So this is mostly a data engineer job. We don't call it as DevOps. We call it as data engineer job. There are projects they ask you to do ADF also. That's a different story. You cannot stop any project. Okay, but if you want to define what the role is, so this is data engineer role. Okay. Hope that helps to everyone. Okay guys, so thank you very much. Let's meet up tomorrow and let's continue Azure Active Directory. Bye bye.